Yeah, to come back about who does this, I think enterprise in the Commission will have a big effect, because the idea is as far as where to compete, right? So, for instance, we are very strong. The document calls us very strong in Europe in terms of wind power. We have almost 5%, I think, is the latest figures for solar power generation in Europe as well. So, is it even worth us trying to think about competing with China and America in that space? So, I think there has to be a sound when we talk about impact. Is what is the investment needed, and what is it going to realise? And I think that's the missing piece for me in looking at those technologies. From an Irish point of view, what energy technologies are probably most appropriate for us? Wind is certainly the big one. Right? It generates. We don't have to do an awful lot. We just go to a company, we buy them off the shelves, and they're co-invested, and there's opportunities there. Solar and heat pumps. They're the three things that we've got that we've got a chance of implementing by 2030 in terms of our climate goals. I take the point about bioenergy, but the reason it's not so clear in Europe, and I've been involved in some of the discussions, is simply because we don't know whether we can generate enough waste organics to drive a sizable European industry. That doesn't mean it doesn't have a very vital contribution in terms of local energy generation, and particularly in rural communities. I think it does, and it's something that is very important in Ireland. It's less important in Europe. So they're the three things. Anything which challenges agriculture and forestry, probably we won't want to do. We won't. Germany has rolled back last year on the use of forestry for energy generation. So that's wind, solar, heat pumps are kind of the three things. But they're accompanied by three critical elements, or two other critical elements. Is one, how do we store energy? And then how is it transmitted across the grid? And I don't mean the Irish grid, I mean the European grid. Wind energy, in essence, we can convert it to hydrogen, but it's much better. Our weather patterns go west to east. And so when we're in a very rich vein of capture, we should be transmitting our energy to Holland. When they're in the high wind and it's past us, it goes back to us. So when we talk about grid energy in this, that's a really critical technology. That is the massive roadblock that we've got, because we've got to transmit energy from high wind to low wind, and it's got to be done on a European basis. So we shouldn't be thinking about one or two interconnectors. We need multiple interconnectors to cope with that, and we need a grid system here.
Chair,
so,
could I just